Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the European LCS, and as we get ready for our second series of the day here on EULCS1, we'll give you guys a quick update on the action over on EULCS2. Schalke took down Roccat 2-0. A very strong series for them overall. You show up, you want to bring the football rivalry into the picture, you better be ready for some serious play.
The mind games, the Dortmund mind games did not work for Roccat. If you guys haven't heard earlier, Sharks talked about it, Roccat changed their jerseys. Didn't seem to be a lucky charm for them today, though.
Catch it in the VODs, maybe later this weekend if you want to catch up. There's some pretty sweet jerseys, but not going to win it out on the day. Of course, setting up for our next series, however, in the arena, Splyce and Fnatic are gearing up. So let's just jump right into looking closer at the teams. Splyce yesterday pulling out a very important 2-0 against Giants, who are pretty adjacent to them in the standings. Things have been pretty close here in the EULCS, but it was kind of a sloppy win overall.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, it's an important 2-0, but this is a 2-0 that we were expecting Splyce to get fairly easily. I mean, Giants, yes, they've showed some sense of, prowess, a little bit from Knight in the middle lane, but, we spoke to Trashy during the post-game lobby yesterday. He was saying that, we just didn't feel good about that win. He was saying first time in his professional career that he's won and being like, man, that really sucks.
And that was
didn't show up.
Really not at all what they wanted, and that was, of course, a sentiment echoed by Senkux on Twitter, who said, GG well played, Giants Gaming. Was a pretty sloppy series from our side, and got a lot to look on before playing Fnatic tomorrow. So we have to hope that these guys have taken a look at that, maybe adjusted a few things, because we've seen them play clean, we've seen them take games in a clean fashion, but they've also kind of been prone to fall back into some old habits here.
Well, for now, it looks like they're getting in the zone, getting the zen, listening to Yamato. It didn't seem, however, like Hobby was too focused with that. He was a little bit more busy. Okay, well, he's fiddling around with something on his keyboard by the looks of it. Now they're out of the zen. They're ready to go. They're all
Panic came back to us like, guys, stop talking about what they're
just going to get zen for this cast, Super. You can start talking about Fnatic.
All right, Fnatic, of course, going 2-0 over Schalke yesterday. Spirit really going off in that series, picking up something other than the Kazakhs. Great to see him back on picks like the Nidalee, like this Gragas. Overall, 6-3 and 17, and you can see from these replays, this man could not miss a smite, or in this case, Febvin manages to take away that Elder Dragon, and overall, that game one, incredibly confident, but when it came to game two, there's a lot of sloppy mistakes coming in for Fnatic. And when I talked to Reckless, he said that the pause really did not help them. They had to deal with some technical issues, really broke that focus. But if there's ever an issue like that in this series where they cannot focus or keep that composure, things are going to be pretty tough for this team overall.
It's fairly understandable when you look at the length of that pause as well and how that can impact. I do want to touch briefly on Spirit because I think he was instrumental to what Fnatic were doing in a lot of the early games. His early Gragas ults were on point, and honestly, it was starting to see how much impact Spirit can have because we saw 4 games of Kazakhs the previous week, and it was like either Spirit goes off in a fight, picks up a triple kill, and tries to carry, and ultimately Freeze shuts him down on Draven, or nothing happens. So I was glad to see him back on a tank with, or at least a little bit more meta.
And I think the other person that it really helped out would be Gamsu in the top lane. Someone when we look at really struggling. Has shifted back now to some comfort picks, got the Gnar, got the Shen in their sets yesterday. But when we look at how much better he played when Spirit was able to support him in that laning phase with a pick like Gragas, with a pick like Nidalee, things just worked out much better overall. And I think that was one of the big disadvantages of the Kazakhs. Yes, Spirit is still an absolute all-star if he can get ahead on that champion, but really cannot help out his laners there.
No, it's very difficult. It's very similar to the instance of we've started seeing a lot of Olaf jungle where, if you don't get at least a little bit of an advantage in the early game, it's difficult to have a conventional way of helping laners where, you come in, you assist with crowd control, give over the kill, or, take it yourself sometimes. And that way you can start getting lanes ahead. It's a lot more selfish when you're playing an Olaf, a Kha'Zix. You are the one that has to get a lot of things. And yes, there are instances where you can do that, but it's not so straightforward.
Yeah, you can hear crowd. One guy at least very excited about Febvin. But before we get into Fnatic, let's take a quick look at the lineups on the blue side. In game one, we of course have Splyce in the top lane, Wonder, Trashy in the jungle, Senkux in the mid lane, Kabi on AD carry, and their new support Mickey, as well as Yamato Cannon, consistently the man to back them up.
Yeah, consistently getting them in the zone. We'll see if it works against Fnatic, because that is the team sitting across the rift from them on the red side. In the top lane, it's going to be Gamsu. Jungle is Spirit. Febvin in the mid lane with Reckless and Yellowstar as AD carry and support, with Dalo on stage as their coach.
He was very concerned as to whether or not you were going to say the mid laner right.
Yeah?
The guy in the back, he's like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mid lane, Febevin. Confident, I like it. Knows who he likes, knows who he wants to see. I have to see if Febevin can show up this series, of course, as we gear up for Champ Select here. Really curious to see exactly what the draft strategy is going to be, hoping that Fnatic stick to what we saw yesterday in terms of picks and bans, and really wondering what Splyce are going to bring to the table. We have to assume that they prepped hard for this series, because this is pretty important for them. These guys are actually quite close in the standings.
But I like what Splyce have started to do a lot more recently as well, and our real big complaint with Splyce last year, or at least last split, was what we talked about with the Unicorns, where they're trying to do too much too quickly. Learn the basics of the game when it comes to working as a team, and that's what they have improved upon. Trashy was talking about it yesterday. It's noticeable in game, and honestly, that is what I would attribute a lot of why Splyce are, fairly high up in the standings right now too. Is they actually look like a coordinated team. They're starting to find their footing, and that's a good sign for Splyce. I do now wonder if they can do it against Fnatic, who are just above them in the standings. They're at the second spot, and we've seen Fnatic's improvement from week 2 to week 3 as well. So should be a super hype matchup.
Yeah, and aside from draft strategies as well, just Fnatic improving as a whole overall. So assuming that they maintain solid draft strategies, I think they are still a little bit favored to come out ahead here. Very strong team overall. The big question is, which version of Splyce are we going to see today?
Right.
Confident, good execution Splyce who have learned those fundamentals, or are we going to see the sloppy, maybe over-eager Splyce that we witnessed in some of those games against Giants yesterday? But we are now into picks and bans, and there's no way EULCS1 is getting his hands on that Braum again. Similarly, Fnatic denying the Vladimir. Overall, a power pick, as well as the comfort for Gamsu on the top lane with that Shen.
Yeah, so Vlad not available for Senkux. Where will the rest of the bans go from Fnatic? Looking at what Splyce have played a whole bunch of. I mean, Trashy was saying that Kobe is the best Lucian in the West, but I don't, or at least in Europe, I don't think that Lucian's worth a ban, despite the high prominence, high praise that Trashy gives over.
Yeah, maybe not the strongest champion since those nerfs coming out. No longer on the permaban status. We'll have to see if Fnatic want to take away Caitlyn here. It's been a very powerful pick overall in the EULCS. Alongside that Bard, Mickey, of course, showing his hand on that one a number of occasions. I'd say in 1 or 2 games, pretty much carrying Splyce with some fantastic tempered fates and just consistently excellent timing on the Cosmic Binding follow-ups.
So either Ryze or Azir, or both, are going to be available, and that is the situation we find ourselves in. Now, does Splyce take away the Azir that Febby has played a whole bunch of? We're going to have to find out later as this draft continues.
Because Olaf is going to be the priority pick here coming in from Splyce, kind of a rising star in terms of pick priority, but it does mean that they've left open Spirit's Nidalee. If you did this last season, when Nidalee was one of the most powerful junglers, this was a death wish. Now, of course, much weaker as we move here into this season, but still a very powerful pick and definitely a comfort pick coming out from Spirit.
And on the other side, that Olaf we saw yesterday from Wonder in the game against Giants, went 2-1-16 on that pick. So it seemed to fit him right down to a T. We know Gamsu as well has played a whole lot of Olaf, so it was a high contested pick when you look at the top lane matchup. Still could transition into the jungle, but I'm not expecting that right now. It depends on the matchup that ends up being locked in. I must admit, I don't know whether I want to see the Kha'Zix from Spirit. It's explosive and has the potential to go off. But Trashy as well was talking about this consistency coming from a jungle, and that's what he really values coming from the jungle right now on 6-11.
Well, consistency for Spirit will be the Nidalee pick as he does finally lock it in here. Ezreal picked up as well, but you talked about potentially having the Olaf as a flex pick. That comfort pick Fizz is up and available for Wonder if they do want to grab it here. Potentially a good way to deal with his Ezreal.
The problem is if you take a Fizz here with an Olaf, you need heavy crowd control coming from somewhere else. Those are both 2 picks that need to stick on targets, and without crowd control to set it up, it makes it difficult. They've got a Nami, but I don't know whether that would be enough if they wanted to go that route for now, at least.
All right, there's a lot of ghosts in the Summoner spell, so I'm not sure what Splyce are going to pick up here to round out this composition, but they've started with a strong core here. You've got the Olaf, the Nami, the Caitlyn. Powerhouse 80 carry. Interesting to see Fnatic prioritize the Ezreal over the Caitlyn here, but Kabi, very lethal on this pick when he gets ahead.
If that Ghost stays, I wonder whether we'll see the likes of a Hecarim comp that we've started seeing.
I wondered
when
we talked about this.
Because, so if it was, so this is purely hypothetical on Summoners.
Okay.
If it was Fizz, it would be Ignite, not Ghost.
True.
And the Ghost is a nod towards Olaf. Also, Summoners don't update until the end of pick and ban phase for us, so we could just be talking completely out of the area that Vivitio showed off yesterday during our How I LCS.
Consistently shows off.
But they don't get the Karma here, which has been pretty significant pick when it comes to assisting the Hecarim, getting him into fights, that kind of thing.
All right, now everybody has Ghost. I don't trust any of this. I see you, Splyce. But on the opposite side, Fnatic are picking up the Gnar in the top lane for Gamsu. Was a solid pick from yesterday. Got through the laning phase very comfortably.
Yep.
As well as picking up this Karma, a pick that we saw Mithy do very well on, but I'm curious exactly how well Yellowstar is going to do with it.
Yeah, we'll track that as we go through the game as well, but that Gnar is going to have the ability to take control of a lot of the inter-melee matchups, so if that Olaf does in fact go top, apart from an Olaf running up and kind of just wailing on you for a long, prolonged amount of time, if you can't get away from him, the Gnar will be able to just whittle him down.
And as we wait for these final lock-ins, I think pre-6, Olaf really going to struggle, but Gnar, when he hits Mega Gnar, actually a huge disadvantage in the lane matchup, because Olaf just pops Ragnarok, runs at you, and at that point you do not have the slippery ability to just run out of that one. Of course, final picks coming in from Splyce, though. It is going to be that Elise as well as the Victor for Senkux in the mid lane. Yes,
the ghosts were a lie.
I'm gonna be honest, like, my heart is so split, because on the one hand, as a play-by-play caster, like, Hecarim sounds sweet, like, sounds awesome to cast, like, there's no circumstance where that is not a cool pick. On the other hand, he was so frustrating to watch last season when it was like Cinderhulk smite top lane. So, you know, a little divided on how I feel about it, but they will stick with some classics here, getting that Elise for the jungle, and Fnatic now rounding out their composition with this Azir pick for Febivin.
And you got to look down the line here for Fnatic. Gamsu, Spirit, Febi, Reckless, all on fairly comfort picks for themselves. Not that they're out of the meta at all. They fit square into what we expect on 6-11. So Fnatic getting a lot of picks that they would value for themselves. After yesterday's games for Splyce, Wonderwear, of course, will be a fan of that Olaf. We'll see if he can get going in this game. But they have a decent amount of crowd control to get the lockdowns. They got the Nami, the Elise, you got a Victor Gravity Field if it locks. But can they get the carries? Can they get onto Reckless? Can they get past Azir? It's all going to depend on that Wonderwear ult.
Very good potential to chain the CC together here, but a lot of mobility from Fnatic and good opportunity to control these team fights. Both teams gearing up, getting those final compositions together. We talked yesterday about how Fnatic relying on comfort last week. This time, this comfort looks a little more standard. Not Kha'Zix's comfort. We've got Nidalee, we've got Azir, and a very powerful composition overall coming in on the side from Fnatic. But Splyce got some comfort picks of their own and definitely have some raw power there as well.
Yeah, they do. Fnatic, you've got to watch for the counter engage, though. Really, when in these engages, you got an Azir, you got a Gnar. Karma can allow people to adjust position fairly effectively. So if Splyce take a fight that Fnatic are well prepared for, this could in fact backfire from Splyce's side. But this is going to be a fun one. It's going to be a very important matchup.
Absolutely. You know the players. You've seen the picks. So head on over to Twitter and tweet at LOL Esports, hashtag SPYWin. I think Splyce can come out on top, or hashtag FNC win. I think these guys with the comfort picks can bring this one together in our first game here in the second set here on EULCS1.
Getting ready, Sifa. It's going to be good, but we're into a pause. Straight away. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
You're like, we're getting ready, and I was like,
yeah,
ready to go.
Deep intake of breath. Was ready. Not for now. We're going to have to, you got to
It's kind of them. They're giving us an opportunity. We saw Yamato and Splyce getting ready earlier. Now this is everyone, viewers, people in the crowd, just take a break.
This is Fnatic being like, oh, wait, we forgot to get in the zone as well. So, no, it's looks like Splyce are the ones that are paused for now. You can see...
Going to be a quick client restart coming in for Senkux, so nothing too long here in delay. Just want to make sure everything is well put together before we gear up for some Azir versus Victor action in the mid lane. Now, looking at the picks that we saw coming in from Champion Select, obviously some pretty solid comfort picks on both sides. Trashy getting this Elise, Spirit on this Nidalee. Do we expect to see the lane swap coming out here?
Well, I mean, it would put Wonder in a tough situation if Olaf ends up in the lane swap. Can't really farm out too effectively. But then we're in that tennis situation where you kind of ping-pong lanes back and forth between each other. So for Fnatic, again, it's Ezreal plus X. Against
X range support.
The thing is, you've got a Caitlyn Nami, which does have a high amount of harass potential when you put the Tidecaller's Blessing on as well. That adds to Caitlyn's damage. So it's not one I'd want to sit in, but at the same time, Ezreal can kind of sit back fairly effectively in a laning phase, and Caitlyn tends not to be able to harass too much. So I wouldn't expect too much action in a 2 versus 2 in that setup without one team making a mistake.
And I feel like maybe Fnatic, it's such a weird spot for Fnatic because they have a very safe bottom lane, but it's definitely not going to be dominant there. But on the other side, if you get Gnar and Olaf in a 1v1, Gnar is just so obnoxious to deal with. And Wonder may be able to outplay that lane, may be able to find some of those opportunities, but pre-6, talk about a tennis match. I mean, it's very one-sided when you're playing with the Gnar. He's just throwing stuff at you, and you are just taking it.
The thing is, early game, though, Gnar doesn't have a massive deterrent for Olaf at like level 1, level 2. Until you get all 3 for the Gnar, Olaf can kind of run up to you and just wail on you for a while.
Have to see if that's going to be the case. Pauses are done. Game is ready, ladies and gentlemen. Splyce versus Fnatic, game 1. Teams gearing up and heading out the base. Lots of cheers coming in on the side for Fnatic.
So,
keeping our eyes on that lane swap. Have to wonder exactly how this is going to unfold. Have to wonder if Febiven can hear that guy shout.
I hope not. But what Splyce have kind of committed to, as you can see, their duo lane is hiding topside. This is how you basically guarantee that you are not giving away information that your duo lane is top. You run them straight into the bush top, hide them there, or behind your tower. Either is fine. And now Olaf's shown on the ward. There's no real way of Fnatic discovering. Quite a hype for Fnatic in this game.
I like this. I like this. This is good. Good energy. Start off. Ooh, Spirit. All right, 50% Spirit accuracy.
Are we counting? Is that it?
No.
This is going to get very difficult.
I start this way for the first 2 minutes of a game with skill shot champions and then immediately give up. There's no way I'm counting them all.
Yeah, as soon as you get down and you start adding third decimal places on it, it just gets...
You're going to be like, see if there's a team fight. Go. And I'll be like, no, I need to see if the spear hit. 100% statistical accuracy.
So Nami Caitlyn did just show on the ward. They know that they were in vision. You can see instant movement on the minimap coming from Spirit and Gamsu. Trashy and Wonder have started on the Krugs. They know that Reckless is there. There's going to be a fair amount of damage here on Wonder already.
Fearless moving forward. Smite goes down.
Oh, man.
Taking a lot of damage. Wonder potentially trouble.
Wonder's dead!
Reckless! My God! Confidence in execution. Fnatic starting things off with a bang. Almost a double kill.
So close, but Yellowstar's going to look for this. He's still hunting around behind this lane, dodges around the tower. He's not going to get it because Trashy's already back in base.
Is there some pact between top teams where when you pick Ezreal Karma, you just get aggressive and start diving people in the early game? We saw G2 do it yesterday against H2K. Fnatic showing up with it here.
But it's the punish on the Krug start in that scenario. There was no available punish from Splyce because of how Fnatic reacted off having that ward in the top side. And then Reckless just completely dominates Wonder in that bottom side, just is able to completely take his health away. We'll take another look at it again, because Wonder's tanking the Krugs for the beginning of this. Takes a couple of hits there. You can see Big Krug deals a fair amount of damage to him before Trashy smites it away. But it's too late. It's too little too late. No flash for Wonder, and Ghost, while yes, it does obviously speed him up, isn't the kind of summoner where you can just completely dodge out a skill shot preemptively. You have to be moving the right way as it is, and Wonder just gets tagged, and that's all she wrote for that.
Fortunately, Splyce maintaining pace here in the lane swap. A small gold lead over to Fnatic overall, however, after that first blood. Reckless and Yellowstar tanking a few shots from the tower there just to make sure that they can get this as quickly as possible.
Infernal Drake is the first one that has spawned. Fnatic get the turret, it will be answered by Splyce. So do we end up in standard lanes on the bottom side? Do we continue the trend now? If we were looking for what has happened in recent times, it would be Fnatic recalling with their duo lane, sending them top now, but that forgoes the dragon control. They wouldn't be able to have any kind of advantage from that Infernal Drake.
This is what gets really scary really quickly, because while the teams are mostly even in the lane swap, look at the difference between Spirit's farm and Trashy's farm. Taking control after Trashy had to back in that early stage, 3 buffs go over to Nidalee, and 18-6 the CS differential.
And now it's further farm as well, because Trashy, what Spirit just did to him was clear out what should be Trashy's strong side of his own jungle. So now Trashy has to overextend into the enemy jungle or over into his weak side to be able to farm. Luckily for Trashy, he was already clearing out topside jungle for himself, so that's not too much of a difficulty for him, but still makes it a little bit more treacherous for him to actually get some more farm. And you can see Spirit has to concede a little bit of farm there, just as Mickix was there, but Spirit's just content to go over to his wolves. Nothing's going to stop him from here.
Absolutely. Just continuing to push forward here. Elise doing what she can to recoup the farm differential. Is balancing out for the most part, but now Trashy making an aggressive move into the jungle here. Wolf Spirit will spot him out. TP comes into the top side. Spirit actually looking for this fight. Trashy may have overextended. Red buff ticking down, trying to run to safety. Bot lane moving up to support Trashy, but over-eager play coming in from Splyce.
And you can see that's Trashy trying to reach there into the enemy jungle. Found Spirit, and it was a decent trade back. Forced to use his flash in that scenario. So Gamsu actually used his TP to get to the turret. Gamsu does have an experience lead as well on Wonderway. It's about 1/3 to 2/3 of a level when you look at it in Gamsu's favor. And the second phase of this push is on. So Splyce typically would pull back and look for the Infernal Drake as their next priority. But look at what Fnatic are doing already. Before the tower goes down, they're already recalling. And the timing now for Splyce on that bottom tower is such that Fnatic may be able to contest.
Absolutely, and you can see just the small time differentials between these two towers dropping due to the plays happening in the jungle have given Fnatic a very large lead in terms of momentum in this game.
In fact, Trashy had to prioritize getting his own farm in the top side, and Spirit's going to try and punish him for it. Spirit actually, now that they've checked that they're not on the dragon, Spirit knows Trashy is top side, has full confirmation of that now that the Rift Spirit will spot him out. First, Spirit was going to clear out top side jungle while they were on dragon, and that was what they were going to trade for it. But Spirit doesn't manage to get that, just gets the crab, but now it's Fnatic that can look to at least get vision control around the first Drake of the game.
Yep. Setting down some wards, have the pink in the river, as well as control of that Infernal Dragon. But finally, Spirit going to make his first back. Able to complete up that Aether Wisp, so much faster on the early clear, and will continue to make it easy for him to deny a lot of the jungle coming out here. Everything, though, reset pretty much evenly. Bot lane, outer towers down for both sides, as well as top lane. Gnar farming very well compared to the Olaf. You can just see the tempo difference there, and bouncing the wave successfully both times for Fnatic does give a pretty decent CS lead over to Gamsu.
This is getting pretty frustrating for Trashy when you look at this. He did get a little bit more farm, but goes into the enemy jungle, plants a ward down, sees that there's nothing there. He can infer that Spirit is on the bottom side for this, but now Trashy is still looking to get any farm he can, and there's just nothing there. He can't even get anything from these counter jungle scenarios because Spirit has already cleaned it out, and now Spirit can maybe potentially with Reckless go in and ward the bottom side jungle of Splyce if they still have vision on Trashy, who actually just recalled, so it would be a little bit of an overextend there, but they're going to be happy with the Infernal Dragon.
Absolutely happy to have that advantage. Of course, pretty much a full AP jungler combined with a scaling mid laner and bottom lane. Very powerful buff for them.
I say it might be overextending from Spirit, but he's doing it anyway right now. He's got that ward down, gets the pink ward, doesn't have his smite up. Unfortunate, used it on the dragon, didn't quite have it to be able to secure the Raptors.
Still a 14 CS differential as he moves to take that red buff, but there is a lot of vision in that area, potentially a point of weakness if Splyce can get the roam down.
The problem is, Splyce can't really collapse on it. Look at where Victor is, he's under tower right now. Olaf can't really afford to push up right now because they don't have clear vision on where the Azir is, who had just recalled. So there was no real help had they gone aggressive on Spirit being in vision. So Splyce haven't really had too many options here, but they have been able to maintain themselves a lead. We haven't looked too much at the duo lane, which transitioned in standard after both towers were taken down. Caitlyn opening up a fair lead in the CS now, 73 to 53. So if they can rally behind Cobby, maybe nice repel.
Sebevin getting aggressive here. Trashy exhaust, looks for the cocoon, but Spirit's on the way in. Gonna donate that one over, and the second kill drops for Fnatic. Gonna leave them an opening now in the mid lane. Victor rushing back to clear these waves.
Good repel timing, but it was too little too late on his own from Trashy, and he gets picked off. And again, a lot of this is just how Trashy got put far behind early game. We've got a level 7 Spirit to level 5 Trashy in this game right now.
You can see the pink ward. You just watch his jungle disappear. Rough series yesterday. Wasn't happy with his performance, and now getting honestly dominated in the jungle by Spirit right now. Not at all where he wanted to be coming into today's match. It's going to be a rough road for Splyce. As you mentioned earlier, though, the good news is that Caitlyn does have a decent CS lead on the bottom side, although now that she has to move out, it is starting to close.
You can see Ezreal, Reckless, getting time alone on the bottom side of the map, while everything else is going on mid. Is just able to continuously farm up. He's closed that gap, does have the kill as well from the early game, that initial pick-off onto Wonder, and Wonder's behind as well. I mean, look at this. He's going to have to reach up into the top lane to at least the halfway point, and he can't really afford to push too much further now that his team hasn't procured vision for him on the bottom side. That was one of the big things that Splyce were talking about. Oh, we're seeing a TP come out from Nah, very deep behind Splyce here. He's going to try and cut them off in Tribush.
A lot of damage goes down. Reckless hitting like a truck. Gamsu with the boomerang blade. They're going to have to run their way out of this one. Hop over the wall. Double stack on the Hyper. Chaos Storm going to stop Fnatic in their tracks. But good movement coming out. Olaf, in the meantime, though, is pushing on the top side, and Fnatic have nothing to get here.
Yeah, and that's from Fnatic showing bottom side. Obviously, Gamsu now doesn't have his teleport available. Wonder can infer there cannot be anybody top for the next 20 seconds, so he's just going to shove that back out, try and get as much farm and push as he can to try and get it to pull back in towards him in the lane. But now, recognizing the timing window has closed, he's going to back himself away. Going to look to purchase some items and then reset that. Again, we're in this tennis game where back and forth the lane goes, and depending on the teleports, it's really the biggest factor on whether we see action on the other side of the map.
Absolutely. Febvin and Senkux continuing to trade it out in the mid lane, both just waiting for an opportunity to shine in those team fights. Febby with that kill has to be pretty comfortable, but Senkux with the Victor damage really just coming in huge in that last exchange.
And Senkux is actually building his Victor fairly differently to what we've seen a lot of Victors just in all different leagues have done. So we've seen a lot of double tier Hex Core into a damage item. We've also seen the perfect Hex Core rush into a damage item or the rallies. He's leaving his Hex Core at Mark 1 for now. So he's not going anywhere closer to that empowered upgrade where for the ultimate where it goes faster. He's looking for the rallies faster is what I would imagine. Looking to try and get a little bit more from his laser, just that slow. So just something we don't commonly see right now.
Maybe just to content to clear out the waves here. Yep. But opting for a potentially more damaging build, a little less utility overall.
Obviously, it's going to give him a fair amount of damage on it. It just means he won't get those augmented abilities at the same rate that you would expect when watching a lot of Victors.
Interesting choice here. Have to see what he goes for. Potentially a Rylai's if he wants to slow down the opposition here, maybe get more control in these team fights. Just a different build path overall. We'll have to see if it pays off for him. Nashor's Tooth finally finished up here for Febvin in the mid lane. Spirit and Yellowstar roaming together to kind of clear out this vision. Yellowstar only level 4 here, so a lot of the experience being shifted over to the rest of the team, but with Mickey at level 6, this could be a rough fight. However, Karma, of course, not gaining a whole ton from that level 6 overall. Okay,
Senkux just pivoted, gets that Mark 2 upgrade, so still on track for getting some of the upgrades, not delaying it fully. As we can see Splyce looking to try and go aggressive in the bottom side of the jungle. They have got enough numbers down here, but Victor is not running TP in this game, and Febby will be able to close that gap a lot faster with the position on the map he's in.
Yeah, interesting option coming in here from Senkux. Opts for the heal. We'll give him a little bit more movement speed, in addition to the emergency sustain if necessary. Has opted for the Siphon power upgrade as well, though, so just maybe looking to trade a bit more effectively here in the laning phase. Looking for an engage. Febvin getting aggressive. Is he going to get the shuffle? The whiff comes out. Chaos Storm goes down. Spirit here to back him up, but not at all the trade he wanted. Good trade back, actually. Heal pops out. My God. Mid laners taking each other within an inch of death.
Heal exchange for flash, and Febby with an uncharacteristic whiff on the ultimate there. Senkux managed to get himself back away from that just in time. But a lot used by both mid laners there. Now Splyce are going to try and take advantage of that by taking themselves an Infernal Drake, which will put us at 1 apiece for these teams.
Yeah, 1-1 overall. Good place to be for both squads. Going to balance out the difference there overall. Elise, Nidalee, both happy to have that buff in addition to the multitude of carries on both sides here. Really just waiting for a break point in this game. Small advantages traded. Nothing major quite yet, however, as Wonder moves back into the top lane to clear out these waves.
Spirit again.
He lives here.
For the blue buff. You got the last one.
Oh, good steal coming in from
Trashy.
Trashy. Wonder on the way in. They might try to chase this Nidalee down, but Gamsu's here as well. Spirit overstepping just a little bit on that one and missing out the spite. Still has a massive CS lead here, but Trashy starting to get something back. Happy to have that jungle item at least completed.
Yeah, Trashy for now has stabilized. He's still a little behind on the experience as well. A lot of that now is because his presence in the enemy jungle depends on where top lane is when it comes to being pushed in the lane. Obviously, when it's pushed in towards him, he loses all access to the enemy jungle. Also note there's 2 pink wards in Splyce jungle that are fairly difficult for Spirit to actually take away. So in that scenario, Spirit has to be very careful of when he actually goes aggressive, and that is reducing his options on actually dominating this matchup further. We are, however, looking at Splyce grouping in the middle lane. Febi's no flash.
In chain CC, 1, 2, 3. Kabi gonna pick up that first kill. Great coordination coming in from Splyce.
Easy pick off for Splyce when Febi doesn't have his flash available. No way he could really get out from that from a bunch of the Splyce members. They used an army ultimate early, get him locked down, and pick up that kill. And now they want to go aggressive into the jungle as well. So Mickix is putting down wards deep. So everybody says it's Mickey, and then the team say Mickix when you hear their comms. But regardless of what he's called, that was a pretty good wave, plus the bubble, plus the cocoon out of Trashy.
Good chain of the CC there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, performance overall.
Mickix. That's the one that gets me.
It's so funny because during interviews with like Mickey, I mean Mickix, and then we talked to him at player conference. He's like, Mickey's fine. But
the key thing was he says, but I don't care.
I'm going to call him Mickey because I can reference mediocre pop songs from many generations when the opportunity is given.
Yeah. Or mice.
There you go. Sencox continuing to clear out the waves. Fevivant in a similar state. Has to play a little bit safer this time around. Does still have the exhaust, but no flash to speak of here in the mid lane.
So, we're finally getting more games of Gnar, which means we're going to see something we ran into in the Challenger Series qualifiers a whole lot, and that is Gnar plus Rift Herald buff is real difficult to deal with.
If you haven't played against this, let me tell you, count yourself lucky, because this is absolutely infuriating. Reduced damage, more harass than mini Gnar already did normally.
That bonus magic damage, it makes it really frustrating to itemize against, because Gnar does a fair mix now with this Rift Herald buff included. Like his Hyper deals like additional damage, you got all of that additional stacking on the 3rd hit. Now you've got magic damage coming from Rift Herald as well. It's like, oh, well, I guess I'll just get armor. Oh, wait, half of your damage you're dealing to me is now magic. Or
in this case, you can build health, and it'll just increase the damage coming in from Hyper. I mean, there's really no right option anymore, and that's where this starts to get incredibly difficult. Olaf, of course, still very powerful if given the opportunity to run rampant in a team fight, but in that one-on-one, Gnar absolutely has the edge at this stage. Trashy clearing out a bit of vision. I think he with a cheeky bubble, maybe hoping to catch Reckless sleeping. Doesn't work out in the end, however.
See, after we started talking pop songs, as soon as he said bubble, my brain instantly went to bubble pop.
Would you like to sing?
No, I don't think I would, actually.
Would you like to share exactly what it sounds like?
No, it's fine. I think that would be a bad thing to do in this scenario.
I think that would lower the user experience, the viewer experience.
Also, another bad thing to do would be Wonder pushing up any further, so he recalls against this Gnar. Doesn't want to get caught by Gamsu when he takes most of his health down in mini Gnar and then jumps on him and wallops him once that ultimate is gone. Wonder should be able to just run away, but it's going to cost him like popping his ult and ghost at the same time and just run down the lane and hope he can get away from Gamsu if that ever arises. But this game has slowed down fairly considerably since Fnatic. We're getting that domination in the jungle early game.
Still have a massive lead here. 40 CS differential. Trashy, though, only 1 level behind now. Rod of Ages coming in from Spirit, so that's a lot of scaling power in the jungle. Everything's relatively calm. Caitlyn hoping to finish out that Infinity Edge shortly. Reckless already has the Muramana stacked up, so things going very well for the team overall thus far. Have to be careful as he sidesteps the spear there.
Cubby's like, oh, okay. Didn't realize that was quite so close to me. He doesn't want to be in lane against Reckless either. It's the most disheartening thing, by the way, is Caitlyn, when you hear the trap pop and it's off screen and you're like, can I chase it? No, you can't.
Not quite enough range to go deep for those opportunities.
But it's obviously wise from Cubby not to be that close. Look at the vision control that Fnatic have in the bottom side jungle. They are able to see everybody coming, and they can see even Mickey out on his own, gets caught by the first spear. Does get the ward kill though. So Splyce have to be careful here. There's so many wards behind them. Gamsu has his teleport, and he's very rapidly building the Narbauer as well. If there is a teleport play coming in, he will be ready for this, should he be looking for the flank. Gamsu, is he going to respond to Wonder's TP coming in? Yeah, he's coming in from the side.
Tidal Wave goes in. Gamsu ready to engage if he gets the opportunity. Wonder on the back lines. Immediate exhaust, but Gamsu, Meganar on the way, throws one more boomerang. You're not going to like him when he's angry. 3 into the wall. Knocked down. What a combo coming in from the top laner on Fnatic. Are they going to be able to get the kills? Spear! Oh, just outside, 1 pixel away from death. Fnatic take control in the mid lane, but don't walk away with a single kill.
It's not over yet. Fnatic want to continue this push. Mikix is trying to recall, or Mickey is at least, and Fnatic want to continue pushing for this tower. There's a Victor on the other side. As long as Victor doesn't step too far too close, it may still be alright for Splyce. There's a lot of health left on that tower. Spirit wants to come in from the backside. Gotta be careful he doesn't get caught.
Trash taking a lot of damage. Kabi doing what he can to disengage here. Trade of blows. Makes his way over the wall. Rock on that. Just so many low health bars. I cannot believe that a single person did not go down on either side.
Yeah, nobody died, despite both teams having the flank play come out. Wonder managed to get in from the side as well. So to put it in perspective, Gamsu did... We could see how much work Gamsu did, but if you want a number to add to that, he did like 3k damage with that combo, hitting multiple people. The flash ult into the wallop, into the Q follow-up that nearly killed Mickey. Whew. And honestly, Nah fits Gamsu down to a T. It's the kind of pick that has the ability to carry from having damage and has tankiness to it, that as long as he's in Mega Nah, he is not going to be too far caught out. Mickey!
Reckless potentially in trouble. All comes out, can't cancel it, but a good sidestep. Senkok's getting aggressive now. He has to be careful. Good body block from the minion.
He's out of mana.
They need Spirit coming in to heal up Reckless. Chaos Storm moving on the edge there. Good aggressive moves coming in from the bottom lane on the side of Fnatic, and now they are poised to take down the mid lane tower.
Yeah, Fnatic is just relentlessly trying to push. Wonder's top side with no teleport available, but then again, Gamsu is now recalling, so Fnatic looking to push this tower, but can Wonder get anything? He actually recalls out before even pushing up to the turret, so Fnatic get themselves the tower.
Moving in, good to have that advantage, steadily growing this gold lead. 3K now in their favor as we pass the 20-minute mark. Baron, a huge question for both teams. And our third Infernal Drake spawning in just a bit. A lot of points to fight over here on the map as Febby pushes out the mid lane.
He's going to push it out. He's got that Azir Sun Disc set up, so going to hold a little bit of possession. Or at least territory. Been watching too much football. Possession. Be interesting if you could have possession as a stat here, like possession of territory, like ward vision control as a stat. I don't think it works.
Spirit. He does not possess this territory. Flash over the wall. Tidal Wave coming in. Is he going to be able to make it to safety? Wonder's hungry for blood. The L-Star's going to heal him up. A hop, a skip, and a jump. And Olaf may be powerful, but he is not very mobile there in that exchange.
At that same time, though, Wonder knows that running towards a Nidalee that's going to have jump available fairly quickly with like a Karma over the wall, he's never getting that kill. So he kind of already conceded that that was not to be for him. But Nah pushing up bottom side. Victor's going to go and deal with it. They put Caitlyn in the middle lane for Splyce, going to try and hold back the Azir for now. And there's no real flank play available for Fnatic right now if they were to group, because they've got no teleport on Gamsu. It's due up fairly soon, but Wonders is available as well, so they can't really punish this Caitlyn being too far up. Without Yellowstar and Reckless cutting through the jungle, they had to get rid of the vision control first, so they'll remain topside, push it all the way up to the turret, secure vision control of the top side jungle, and then cut through mid lane if Splyce pushed too far up.
Splyce now gearing up to push. We'll have to beware that flank, as you mentioned, however. They're pretty set to take down this tower.
Look at them cutting through the jungle. They can't quite get there in time. Karma and Ezreal back away. Fnatic are constantly trying to make this play. Yep. Always trying to cut in. And that's what Splyce said in their interview yesterday that they were struggling with, is maintaining enough vision control to allow people to push in on the side lanes and then converge back in to get picks in the jungle. That's what Trashy said in his own words while he was talking with Krepo. So Fnatic seemingly spotting that and maybe exploiting Splyce's lack of vision control. Ooh, Senkux goes in!
Goes in, a lot of damage coming through. Yellowstar burns down, my god! Chaos Storm! One-man wrecking crew coming in from Senkux. Good pickup overall, but what can Splyce turn it into?
Yellowstar did not use his exhaust in that setup. He pretty much knew he was already dead. Not a whole lot of point in actually utilizing that summoner from there, but Fnatic, without their support, can't really maintain vision control around this mid lane for the next little while.
Most of the Mickey! Oh! Febiven misses the first auto, gets the second though to secure the kill. Splyce overstepped there.
And look at it, the traps were attempted to be set up by Cobby, but didn't have it completed, didn't even have it in the right area at that point because they weren't respecting the ultimate that was coming from Reckless, who is pretty farmed right now, even with Cobby, but still level 13, Reckless, that ultimate. It's going to hurt if it catches somebody like a Nami without catching a lot of minions first. Spirit now trading with Senkux.
Absolutely, looking for the skirmishes here and winning out in the end. Can't really afford to 1v1 that Nidalee at this stage of the game. Simply pretty much even in terms of itemization. Of course, Victor without that ultimate, not nearly as much of a threat. Cheers for Febiven, still coming in strong.
Whole lot of love.
I like this.
Febby. Man, that damage. Down from Febby and from Reckless onto Mickey.
I like the casual auto-attack the wrong person into... Oh yeah, I guess I should take that.
Just going to clean it up.
Yep.
Yeah. Febby was like, I'll just leave you for later.
We call this the hope builder. We're just like, oh, you think I made a mistake? No. Still gets it in the end. Happy to have it now. Their sights set on this third Infernal Drake. Waiting for the fight to start, however. They'll start zoning out. Trashy moving in. Tidal Wave coming across the backside. Febiven locked up. He tries to push away. The Olaf should be unstoppable, but burns in an instant. Chaos Storm, though, makes it the trade back. Gamsu knocks Senkux into the wall. Spirit tries to get the kill. The Caitlyn trap locks him down, takes him out in the end. Splyce now descending upon Gamsu, but can they pick this one up? Ezreal, so much side damage. Flash in! Gamsu trying to turn this one around. Cobby makes it out to safety. The coordination on both sides is stellar as they push for more. Cobby running for his life.
Oh, he tagged him.
Slowed down. Good play from Reckless. Double kill for the 80 carry on Fnatic. Trashy running for his life, and Fnatic take control in the end.
They're going to leave this last kill attempt, or at least the run around for Yellowstar. Gets cocooned. That's going to spell the end of that for now. But Fnatic, even though they lost Febiven and Reckless was heavily chunked, it was Gamsu in the front line doing work in the fights again. Spirit was in the mix as well. So we go aggressive on to the Infernal Drake. Its Spirit smites it down. Wonder gets picked off before this fight can ever start, but Febby taken out by Senkux early on makes this fight a whole lot more difficult for Fnatic than they were anticipating. Look at Reckless trying to run away from the Chaos Storm, took an extra hit at the end and couldn't survive, but Gamsu is so difficult to deal with here that despite crowd control landing time and time again, the wallop comes in. Gamsu stays alive for so long, and now Reckless finally has the confidence. Hits 1Q here on Cobby, which gets the slow, allows him to go straight forward into the fight and be able to pick him up. And from there, they're already moving out. You can see at the tail end of that fight. Yeah, business as usual for Fnatic.
Take the hands off the keyboard, wipe them clean. Get ready to dirty him again. Coach is on the screen, Yamato Cannon. Stern look of focus on his face. Knows his team is behind, but they're not out yet. Every single decision they make at this point weighted very heavily because one wrong move can cost them the game, and for Spirit, that cocoon is not going to be hit.
Once again, Gamsu, a whole lot of damage in that fight. 800 for Wonder. on the Olaf, and of course it's because he died so early on. Febby.
Oh, locked up. Spear looking for the body block. Isn't going to get it. Don't have enough damage. But as you said, that Olaf just obliterated in the last fight. The sole man on the front lines. Similar story for Trashy. Mickey making sure that they can't get anything else, however.
It's tough to get Wonder into the fights in a situation where he can actually get onto carries. I mean, Splyce still have the damage to deal with the carries of Fnatic if they can ever get there. That's one thing Fnatic are going to make sure not to make a mistake over. Can't leave a flank open. Can't be susceptible to somebody cutting in from the side. They've been fairly good about it so far, or at least Gamsu has been enough of a threat that it actually pulls Splyce back away from the engage.
Really interesting to see. We've seen a lot of death brushes. Saw him last set, now seeing him this set. Teams just looking for these setups. All it takes is a single member to go down for that Baron to drop.
And it's something that we were talking about a little bit yesterday in the post-game lobby is we'll get this later.
Caught up. Chain CC comes down, lots of damage. Italy just a little bit too tanky. Abyssal keeping her healthy.
Something we were talking about is with the range supports, it's more difficult to kind of approach a bush. Teleport's coming in through here.
Tidal Wave gonna hit 3.
Trashy's so low, as is Cobby.
Senkuk's looking for the ultimate. Exhaust goes down. Good play coming in. Gamsu, he's got the ult available. Emperor's Divide not gonna be enough to stop. Looking for the lockdown here. He's going to try to chase for more. Absolute control coming in from Fnatic. Managed to pick up Mickey, clearing out the fight, and it's low health bars for both sides. Yeah,
Gamsu's Mega Nut is about to expire, so they need to get Spirit in there to tank, maybe swap it around here. Splyce have the opportunity. A Death Blazer here could spell a whole lot of damage onto Fnatic. They're looking for the Baron.
Cobby not gonna get the steal. A quick secure from Fnatic. Well earned with a bloody fight beforehand.
And Fnatic managed to stabilize off this Baron has given them just, well, a significant lead right now. They had a good lead as it is. Stabilize is the wrong word. Extend their lead, I would say, is the better approach on that. So for Splyce, they've been on the back foot for the majority of the game. They're still bringing a whole lot to fight. So the problem is Gamsu and the rest of Fnatic are doing a whole lot of work. Let's take another look at the start of this. So Mickey uses the tidal wave early to try and get the rest of the team in there. Good damage again from Senkuk's, but Exhaust comes out and he just runs head first into the engage from their Wonder. Again, he can't get into the backline properly. So much damage comes out from Reckless, and that meant Splyce had to turn away. We're back into a fight.
The action never stops. Mickey once again going down here. Tier 2 tower set to follow. Not at all what Splyce wanted. A few mistakes here and there costing them so much. If you look back at that last fight, you had to see Mickey, he's hitting the bubbles. He's doing what needs to be, he's making things happen, but the team isn't there to follow him up. And unfortunately, sometimes he's just overstepping in these exchanges as Fnatic break through the tier 2 and look to take their first inhibitor.
But this is one of the difficult standpoints now because Caitlyn's just going to drop 5 traps on that area there, and it's so tough to step forward. So it's going to rely on the split push aspect here coming out from Fnatic. Febby gets tagged, and there goes the Sun Disc. But it's the other side of the map. Tower has already gone down for Fnatic. Now they're rotating topside. They've got a wave pushing in. Spare and power play is going to get pretty big pretty quickly here.
Absolutely, already approaching 4K. Reckless taking a lot of damage. Nice shield coming in from Yellow Star.
Oh, look at Gamsu's position here. He's not got Mega now, though. Going to try and build a little bit off the ward, but...
Gearing up to siege down this tower. Febivin, Reckless throwing out Poke. Gamsu with the Boomerang Blades. Spirit with the Spears. Not a whole lot of opportunities for Splyce to defend. You can see Wonder peeking his head around the sides, maybe hoping to catch them sleeping, looking for those flanks, the opportunities to get into the back line. It's just not going to be enough at this stage.
Splyce don't want to overcommit though, because if they commit to a fight and Gamsu punishes their engage, then Splyce basically just lose this game. Because if they lose even like 2 or 3 members here while Fnatic have Baron buff, that's basically this game done. They push and look for game 2. So Splyce are at least playing that out fairly intelligently, maintaining just control of their inhibitor towers.
Oh.
This was the initial engage. So we saw Mickey getting dropped so low and cuts through him with the True Shot Barrage. So we didn't actually catch most of that the first time. But Fnatic looking to add a 4th Drake to their buff stacks.
Once again, just the icing on the cake here. Happy to have another Dragon. They keep that Baron power play up. 4.5k as we approach the end of that buff. Finally, a brief break for Splyce as that will wear off. With no inhibitors down, the game isn't over for them yet, but with an 11k gold lead on the side of Fnatic, we're at that stage, we talk about it. Time and time again, one fight can decide this game.
Yeah, it can. And Fnatic know that as well, because you look at the other side of the Rift and you've got a Caitlyn, you got a Victor. 2 picks that if you don't deal with them in the fight, they are going to punish you. So there is the opportunity. Hang on, look at the Fnatic group collapsing slightly through the jungle here. Spirit's trying to get in through the side. There are traps around there.
Zoning true shot. Missed true shot. I said zoning because I thought they were.
Hang on, here comes Wonder. Teleport into the backside, looking perhaps for Spirit. He's coming all the way around for Febby here.
Waiting to use the ultimate as long as possible. Running in onto Yellowstar. Can't be disabled, but he can be killed if given the opportunity. They push forward. The rest of the team locked up by the Emperor's Divide. Aggressive move in. Yellowstar, is he going to drop? No, the shield. Barely taking him out to safety, and Gamsu's on the bottom lane.
It's not only Gamsu, it's also Reckless on the top side, so Splyce use everything, and now have just lost 2 base towers in this, attempted play mid lane. Wonder, without any crowd control, cannot get himself into that fight quick enough, and even Yellowstar survives. It was kind of like the James Bond laser, going up the inside of the trousers on the board there. They were running away from the Chaos Storm, but just narrowly managing to get themselves out of there. Man, Splyce, they're trying to force things, and they just have not been able to get anything this game.
And I'm really wondering what the priority for Olaf was supposed to do for them, because it's just been such a costly pick. The flanks have not been effective, and Fnatic have been playing around it so well. And I think a lot of that is going to be due to this Rift Herald, which is still on Gamsu 35 minutes into this game.
I mean, also Gamsu's performance just in general. Like, Gamsu has never given Wonder the opportunity to punish in any scenarios early on in the game. Also, the fact that, we had the swap come out makes it difficult for Wonder to get into the game. So, honestly, this setup, I understand why they took the Olaf. It worked well for them yesterday. They were able to capitalize on it, but this game, it just has not had the same effect. Wonder hasn't been able to get to carries. As he's got to get to an Azir and Ezreal. Both of them have got Karma there with her to speed him up, keep him alive.
Nidalee there to heal them up as well.
Yep.
Gamsu to threaten for that re-engage. If you do get over-aggressive, you can see just how frustrating this matchup is.
There's no tower there, so Gamsu's going to keep running until he senses somebody coming from mid. Then he backs away.
Poor Brolok.
Fair.
He still stabs Chug so happily, but we know Wonder has to be feeling sad about this lane. Did not work out as planned.
Gamsu's waiting to possibly TP mid, by the looks of it. Does have TP available. Oh, Cobby gets chunked already.
Has to be careful here, however. Running out of rage, isn't going to have enough time to get into the fight. Fevavin on the sides. Playing with fire there, has to be careful. Gamsu just going to go right back to the bottom lane and keep the push going.
Yeah, Fnatic just looking to whittle down Splyce at this point. Keep pushing in. Get a big wave top, push it in. Get a big wave bottom, push it in, and then pull back for the Baron, which is spawning in 20 seconds. It's a fairly straightforward plan from Fnatic. Yellowstar has to recall to get additional wards here.
What are the opportunities at this stage for Splyce? I feel like they're just out of options with 2 inhibitors open and the Baron respawning soon.
Yeah, the problem for them is the actual setup of the fight just kind of turns around anytime Fnatic want it to. As soon as Gamsu shows up in the fights and kind of deals with the majority of Splyce, then the freedom that Reckless gets, the Febavin gets from Yellowstar being right beside them is difficult to overcome.
Fnatic now starting the Baron. Gamsu backing off in the split push, has lost the Rift Herald buff, but will be happy to trade it out for a Baron buff here as they close this one out. Trashy. That's not what you want. Spirit denied on the engage, but he's just going to flash in. Senkuk's trying to make something happen, but there's not enough. Zhonya's comes out to keep him safe. Fevavin suddenly in trouble, trading on the back with a 1v1. Double kill for Reckless. Wonder, is he going to be able to get anything? GA is available. 5 members ready to play cleanup here. Wonder respawns. Wonder goes down. The ace for Fnatic, and they're set to close out this first game.
Clean ace for a clean game 1 of the series. 14 kills to 4. Fnatic have had the lead pretty much from the first minute. Spirit dominated the jungle matchup and punished Trashy and the rest of Splyce for not being able to do anything early game. And it's going to transition into an easy game won by the looks of it for Fnatic.
39 minutes set to close out here. Some fancy footwork from the team and some amazing play from Fnatic as a whole, earning themselves the first game in this best of 2.
Fairly comfortable overall.
Absolutely.
Yes, Fnatic slowed down, that is fair to say. There were still areas that Splyce were kind of showing a little bit of bite. Some team fights that were getting close, and then, you know, Reckless was able to turn it on at the end. But man, that beginning of the game was tough to watch if you're Trashy. I mean, Spirit ended with 6k gold more than Trashy.
That is crushing. I mean, I think the gold lead at 5 minutes is probably more telling than that.
That's
gold
fair.
lead. They took so many objectives and they were so far ahead, and just the slow snowball coming in from Fnatic. Splyce made some good moves, but at the end of the day, I felt like teamfight execution for Fnatic was just greatly in their favor.
Yeah, they were so mobile in team fights as well. So trying to lock down the Azir, the Ezreal, these kind of picks, just getting them out of the fight makes it so tough to get that Olaf in. Senkux did a whole lot of damage that game, though. That's something you do have to look at, in that there were still areas that Splyce could maybe have fought against what Fnatic were bringing, but when it came to actually locking people down for the Victor, for the Caitlyn to deal damage, there just wasn't that kind of support there. You had a Nami whose ultimate was used to start things off, but after that, you're like, well, I hope people walk into Gravity Field, I hope I can get a Cocoon in that setup, or a Trap. Just unreliable crowd control that followed, and Fnatic had the complete opposite. You got the Gnar win in Mega Gnar is fairly easy, you got the Azir there as well.
And I feel like the chain CC that came out from Splyce when we saw that gank in the mid lane was so good. And
yeah,
honestly, Mickey once again playing incredibly well to land those bubbles, but there wasn't anyone there to really protect the Victor and the Caitlyn. Olaf always running in, always running ahead, very similar to what the Gnar brought to the table. The difference, no CC, and at the end of the day, when Olaf is behind, you just cut through that health bar.
And it's the same with like Elise, as she uses Cocoon, and then suddenly, well, I've not got a whole lot more to save you. I really hope there's not somebody running at you that is going to crowd control you, and unfortunately that was the case.
Absolutely, but of course you've heard what we have to say, so let's toss it over to Shox at the desk to break down that first game between Splyce and Fnatic.
I wasn't going to call it out, and you have to call him out. He's new. Don't pick on the new guy.
He's not really new anymore. He's been here for like 2 months.
All right.
So.
Surprised you noticed.
Yeah.
He's actually been here for 3 months, Martin.
Damn, all right. First one, he didn't say anything.
All right, let's talk about the match. Obviously, there, he probably thinks it's funny that he's eating a banana and he's being filmed for this one.
Kind of funny.
So it is kind of funny. So Splyce versus Fnatic. Obviously, yesterday we had Trashy on the desk. He said, hey, I think we can challenge Fnatic in this one. So where did they drop the ball?
Multiple places, obviously. I actually think Splyce, the first 20 minutes, was fairly competitive in this game here. I never really felt like Wonder got into the game on Olaf, which was a big problem, especially later, compared to his counterpart, the good old Gamsu on Gnar, who had some fantastic team fights, which was very important for the mid-game ones. And I felt like both comps were fine. I felt like both teams were even. It was just more Fnatic actually played better in these later team fights.
There was just a couple individual matchups that ended up going in favor for Fnatic. We had Gamsu getting a big CS lead. Early on, he was like up 20, 30 CS. In the later stages of that early game, we had Spirit completely outpacing Trashy. And then Trashy, in an attempt to catch up, kind of went for some invades or plays on the aggressive side of the map, and they kind of backfired a few times. And I think that set the tone for the early game.
Yeah, you guys were mentioning Gamsu, his CS lead. You also guys want to take another look at one of the TPs from him early?
So there's this phase in the game where Fnatic has a lead, right? So Gamsu, right now, he pushed up, he based, I think, and he's coming back with items. And he's doing Krux, and he's ready to meet Olaf again and just keep putting him in the dumpster. And right here, while he's doing Krux, he's going to go for the teleport. So that is likely not a call that he made. This is the team, Fnatic, saying, you know what, Gamsu, come TP in. And not much comes of this play. I like the setup. I like that you go for it. You have the room to go for these plays when you're this far ahead. But now, Wunder is allowed to catch up for free. Gamsu can't challenge him in the top lane, and he gets put behind. And I just want to throw the spotlight on a player that gets so much criticism very often when he falls behind, and just show you guys, like, sometimes it is not always up to the player. If now this game spiraled out of control and Gamsu started losing this matchup, which is, you know, not as easy for Gnar as one thinks, into the Olaf, then it could have been on that TP, for example.
In before it was Gamsu's call,
Yeah.
he was screaming for the team, I'm coming,
Life of
guys, I'm
Legends,
coming.
yeah.
Gamsu's like, yeah, that's my TP. Well, then I can go back to this
Careful.
segment and
No,
be like,
but-
no, you're wrong.
I mean, again, the thing about Gamsu is, laning-wise, I don't think he's the strongest top laner. Actually, if you look at like CS at 10 and 20, he's actually one of the worst in EULCS. But when it comes to being, again, the team player, when it comes to reacting when the team needs him, and when it comes to playing team fights, I actually think he's doing really well, which is also one of the reasons they keep putting him on these tanks so often. Nar's a bit of a mix, so that's why I like Nar for him, because you can do okay in lane, especially once you get a few levels, but also in team fights you can be super impactful.
Let's take a look at some of the team fights. 4 for 2, a Fnatic Dragon
Yep.
as well.
Oh,
where
love
the
it.
whole team- You love it?
Look at Gamsu in this fight here. I mean, this is just going to be a great setup from him once Dragon goes down.
Yeah, just really good, what we call like micro decision making. He switches targets very often, so he's going in, he's drawing the aggro right now already on Senkooks. And in the later stages of the fight, and even multiple fights after this, Gamsu always knows when to switch targets
It's
and
not over.
engage.
It's not over yet. I mean, he sees another opening for himself, goes in, there he goes, stun on 2 members, setting up Reckless for more damage from long range,
Yeah.
and suddenly you win the fight. Compare that to what the Olaf did in this fight. He ran in, he looked at 2 guys from Fnatic, and he was
Very
like...
fiercely, however.
He did. He was, I mean, aggressive, you know, running straight at them. Proper Danish Viking here, you know. And then he just gets poked a little bit, both places, both in the front and in the behind, and then he dies. So, not exactly the same impact, not on the player, more on the Olaf pick with a Black Cleaver who never really got to do anything in his laning phase, also due to the lane swap, so he was much weaker. But that's where these individual plays in team fights on NR suddenly become very impactful, because he was actually the guy setting up so many things for Fnatic.
And we need to see more of this version of Gamsu. And even last split, we were like, you know, Gamsu versus Gatsu, you know, which is it going to be? But I want to see more of these plays where he's really just smart in his approach to the team fights, knows to select which targets to flash aggressively for, know when to flash in aggressively, and also when to change, you know, once these guys are out of range for the backline, you know, let's just switch to a different target that we can now focus down. He created so much space for Reckless.
How much do you like to see Gamsu on his like signature Gragas instead? Like, do you think that it's not really a good pick for him? Can you say that?
No, I think Gragas and Nar are probably 2 picks I like to see him play. Maokai, and let's add in an Echo as an example, as picks I don't want to see him play, because that's picks where he will lose lane really hard.
Yeah.
I think picks where he can do okay, at least in the laning phase, and just stay even at best, and then have an impact in team fights, benefits Fnatic quite a lot, because Spirit wants to play this style where he can find the enemy jungler. You can't do that if your lanes are losing, so whenever they pick like Maokai, Spirit is also useless, and then the entire Fnatic team suffers.
Also, Spirit is just a jungler that likes to be on his own, you know, invade the enemy.
Sure.
He's kind of, I think he played, at least last split, he played very similar to Trick, where he goes in, if you have winning lanes, you just let them win 1v1 ever so slightly, but you secure the 1v1 for them as well, with some vision, with deep invades, locking the enemy jungler down in his jungle. And therefore, you need some stronger matchups. If you want to play this style, like an aggro in Italy with a Maokai, just it doesn't synergize that well. And this game, Spirit was up like 50 CS at one point, 120 versus like 70 or 80 at this point. It was just crazy.
Yep. Also, our player of the game in this one on is
Yeah.
Aggro Nidalee, one of his favorite picks, and making everything happen for Fnatic. What?
I like how the casters went completely different direction, and we were like, yeah, it was Gamsu, was it
Or
Reckless? Maybe they
Reckless,
played
yeah.
really well. Spirit, all right, you
Yeah.
know what, I'll take it, you know, because I think a lot of the Fnatic members played extremely well, and Spirit, as you said, were able to play his 1v1 style. Also in team fights on Italy, a lot of junglers can't really do anything.
Oh, he went in. He went ham.
He finds a few targets here and there, and he gets to like assassinate someone, so definitely well deserved, and we have to agree with the casters.
The viewers don't know what you're talking about, by the way.
So
So,
yeah.
we have
Oh,
a vote
yeah, yeah.
system for the player of the game.
There's a vote system for player of the game.
Yeah.
Everybody weighs in their vote. Final vote goes to the color caster or the caster pairing of the game. We were like, you know, Reckless had a lot of space, but Gamsu was creating the
Gamsu.
space. And then
We like
turns out-
space here, and they just like good players, so that's why they win.
Well, it's cool. Curveballs, we have to roll with the punches. So over in the LCS studio, meanwhile, H2K is going up against Vitality, and you're keeping an eye on that game. And I feel like I'm sure actually,
You feel it in the air?
that we can have a live check-in with that game.
We do have a live check-in right now. It's been a game where H2K has been in control, especially Freeze on this Ashe here has been actually hitting a lot of good arrows and setting up a lot of kills. And you can see he's sitting on 8 assists, and he's not being greedy and stealing kills.
Yeah, and I just like the H2K composition. I'm a big fan of Ashe and Zyra as a combination because it disengages well and you have the engage component of the Ashe. Works so well with at least 2, just from making picks everywhere. You do need to get ahead with this comp, so you definitely need to get the picks. And in this game, Freeze was landing a lot of arrows, and there was follow-up from the team.
Yeah, so overall, H2K has been playing actually a very high-level game as well, something we really want to see now from these top teams, because they have to be better than everyone else, so everyone else can kind of learn from them. And H2K in this one, I mean, probably would be proud except for that one, just missing by, but tough one to hit. And it's actually something Freeze were talking about when he was on the desk with us, and he was saying his coach were telling him, just fire your arrow on cooldown. You know, just constantly fire it every single time, even though you might not hit it, just go for it, because in case you hit it, we get that kill, and we get the tower.
Every shot you don't take is one you miss.
Did you guys catch the banter on Twitter, by the way, from Jankos before the game tweeting, hey, NukeDuck, which one trick will you play, Zillion or Victor, in this game? Yeah, and definition of one trick, and he named 2. I'm just not calling him out, but it is Zillion and a Victor in that game.
That's a good point.
All right, that game is still...
I think we need to call that out on Twitter. Shots go.
Vitality and H2K are still playing over there in the studio, so you guys can go and check in on that game. But over here with Fnatic up after a win in game 1, we need to step away. Splyce will get their chance to fire back when we return.
Sounds like a Lucian dash.
If anything is slightly wrong or whatever, you can pause at any time.
I made a wrong play. Can we pause?
Taking a lot of damage. Wonder potentially trouble.
Wonder's dead!
Reckless! My God! Takes him out in the end. Splyce now descending upon Gamsu, but can they pick this one up? Ezreal, so much side damage. Flash in! Gamsu trying to turn this one around.
I can still go, maybe.
Yeah, he's slow, but
He's going for the trap.
he's gonna crack on you. Nice!
Double kill for Reckless. Wonder, is he going to be able to get anything? GA is available. Wonder goes down. The ace for Fnatic. Amazing play from Fnatic as a whole, earning themselves the first game in this best of 2.